Last round saw us crown T as a first-time champion. And while that position has been decided, only 12 points separate second through fifth. It's no doubt going to be a fierce battle in these final two races to decide who winds up where as we get ready to watch round 11 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Robert O'Brien, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Watkins Glen is a staple in the Lotus 79 community. To understand why it's so well loved, let's head to our track guide. Welcome to Watkins Glen International. Situated in upstate New York, just south of the Finger Lakes, this track has seen it all. Few road circuits can boast hosting Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, and IMSA during its history. Though it did have a brief fallow period in the early 80s, thanks to the investment of local companies, it's grown into one of the premier road tracks in the U.S. With 4 layouts to choose from that range between 2.5 and 3.5 miles in length, lap times can vary greatly. But it also means it's suitable for lots of different levels of racing, from amateur to pro. The one thing that stays consistent no matter which car and which layout you're using is that Watkins Glen means speed. Many of the straights are very long, and the majority of the corners are fast sweepers. Some of them include a surprising amount of banking as well. Combine that with the proximity of the barriers, and this historic circuit retains a very old-school feel. Drivers in lesser-powered cars can expect drafting battles, while higher-powered machinery will test the skill and bravery of their pilots. Some of the turns are visually iconic, such as the carousel and the S's. Others, like the inner loop, the chute, and turn 9, greatly challenge even the expertly skilled. And of course, we haven't even mentioned the drastic amount of elevation change drivers experience. Between its rich history and popularity among drivers, this track stays busy and seems likely to be that way for a long, long time. Well, DJ, it is Watkins Glen, and this has been a fun one every time Lotus 79 appears here. But the big thing is, well, it doesn't have the inner loop like the modern one.
No, it doesn't, and that's actually going to help out a little bit of the overtaking here at this circuit, because the outer loop is now going to become a heavier braking zone. There's going to be more area to draft down from the 90 up through the S's and into the outer loop. So I think you're going to see a little bit more of an aggressive attack down into the outer loop, and then as always, we can see some great fight back down into the boot, through the chute, through the toe. Now, this is the first time the Lotus 79s have come back to this track since the rescan, and so it's important to note that the heel has become a little bit more of a better overtaking zone. Yes, these cars don't really like to take the curbs, but you can run the car a little bit wider there thanks to the courtesy of the added pavement runoff around that corner.
Yep, that's going to change the nature of it compared to previous visits to this track, that is for sure. But let's take a look at the Drivers' Championship now, and as we mentioned, Andy T cannot mathematically be beat from here. Michael de Turk, Marco Kela, Pauli Partanen, and Gernot Frischa are the ones that are vying for that second position. Any one of them could swap around. Honestly, even those behind him that we don't see on this graphic, Tolan and Reed, Pi, have been close enough that we could see changes. It just all depends on how this goes. But let's take a look at the Teams Championship in the meantime.
Well, Joe, in that Teams Championship, Ligier Gitain is holding on to a 24-point lead over Cupscar Fittipaldi Automotive, so pretty tight there, and it's still up for grabs. Parmalat Racing Team Brabham about the same distance back from Fittipaldi, with John Player Team Lotus really close behind them, only 3 points away, and Walter Wolf Racing holding on about 9 points. So some pretty close battles there as the season comes to an end, and we're going to have to keep an eye on it.
And for today's race, it is another 28-lap event, just like last week. And it should be fun for us to see them whip around this place with very few heavy braking zones. So that's going to be fun to see who can use that slipstream to try and make attacks instead of trying to outbrake one another nearly as much as before. And let's check in, of course, on our on our qualifying here as the drivers now take out to the track. And it looks like we don't have any times on the board quite yet, but they should have enough to get both of them in pretty easily. So I don't think this is going to be a pressure cooker to try and get out early.
No, it really shouldn't be, Joe. And as we watch here on board with Paulie Parton coming over that ever fearsome turn 9, you can see how that camber really affects the car, and it's particularly difficult in these Lotus 79s. So much downforce generated from the ground effect of these cars coming over that change in elevation there, that change in camber over turn 9. The car can get very, very slippery.
And right now the drivers are just about to get those first laps in here, or at least start their first flyers, as I see Schleret on his way. Partonen looks like he is just about to start a good one. Here we are on board. Actually, he has started a good one. This is out at the S's and up the backstretch. And if you haven't seen this track without the inner loop before, here you go. Just a straight shot into the terrifying outer loop. And not even much of braking in there, I think, for these cars. Just swinging it in and bringing it out through the banking and down into the boot section. We have a special guest with us as well for today's race. Michael DeTurk joins us down on pit lane. And Michael, you've got firsthand experience with these cars out at this track plenty of times. What's a big note for you that you feel like they really need to watch out for?
You know, previous with the old scan, you could really overrun turn 1 and get away with it. And now it's not just the off track that's the issue. It's that turn 1 curb is really built up a little bit more. It's got a little bit more of a crown on it, and it's very easy to bottom the car out there and either lose speed or end up slipping up and dumping it into either of the barriers. Either one, obviously, the barriers is costly, but you really need to maximize that speed going up the back straight. And if you get a bad run out of one and touch that curb a little too much, you're really going to be defenseless for the guys behind.
Well, we'll try and keep an eye on that. As apologies, we'll have pictures back here soon of the qualifying, but I can tell you that Partonen is currently in second on the provisional pole. Lino finds himself in second place, but we haven't seen Freesia put a time in. Ove Trangrade has not either. Interestingly, Andy T is not here, it appears. So Andy may be finally taking a rest to get himself a chance to relax on a Sunday morning. Not sure if maybe he's actually out there watching. And if so, a big hello to you, Andy, and congratulations. Meanwhile, still Partonen up at the top. Looks like Tolinen getting very close to second place here, DJ. 100th of a second behind Mikko.
Yeah, some very, very close times. They're up at the top of the charts, and really the top 12 only separated by about a second. So not a lot separating any of the drivers. It looks like it's going to be a very, very close grid here today.
Indeed. So without much in the way to make a difference around this lap, even though it is relatively long, it's not super long, just about a minute 30 most of the drivers are doing around here. Still, there's, like I said, not many heavy braking zones to really separate the drivers out there. We're still waiting on Freesia, Freckleton, Alcalde, Mosquera, Edwards to set a time. Looks like Suarez puts one down. Oh, and Tolinen just crossed on his second lap. He's going to go into second place. Partonen still about a tenth and a half up. Benoit Daisy manages to get himself into fourth, which becomes fifth as Schleret now jumps into that second row. So it's all jumbling around very quickly, but still don't have one for Freesia. And as I say that, he finally comes across. Only good enough for eighth, though.
Yeah, he's still got one more lap to be able to try to put in, so he may try to go a little bit better, waiting for other laps. The second lap's here from Suarez, West, Kozneski as well. Alcalde able to put in a time that'll get him up into P14. Dylan Freckleton pumping in a time of good enough for P9.
Now it's down to Armando Edwards and Azevedo to put a time in. Otherwise, they're going to be starting at the back of the field. This is top split of two out here today as we watch the 11 of Mosquera come down the back stretch and into the carousel as well. Last driver on the timing board with a time at this moment, about 1.4 seconds off the leader in 19th place. That should give you an idea of just how tight it is around here. And we've got about 2 minutes left, so now it's coming down to the end of it.
Yes, it is. Continuing to watch here down through the toe of the boot. Careful to be a little bit later on the throttle there. Easy to spin those rear tires here in these Lotus 79s and down into the braking zone for the heel. As you said, without that inner loop, that heel. Whoa, that's a little bit too wide, and that's going to be right into the wall for Mascara.
Well, that's the end of his qualifying. Frisch's just crossing the line a second time right now. The number one car gets it down to 130.070, but that's only 200ths faster. He'll stay put in ninth. So we look at Freckleton at this stage as he comes around, and he is going to be the next one as the last few cars have wrecked now. Seems to be everybody is trying to take it not just to the limit, but over it today. And at 29.973, Freckleton up to 7th.
Good run there from Dylan. We've really seen him come alive this season, so very good to see him be able to put in another top 10 performance there, slowing the car down, just giving himself a little bit of a breather here as we've got about 45 seconds left to go in the qualifying.
Indeed, and while we've got that time, we want to mention our sponsor. Make sure and check out the Majors Garage, home of free Baseline Plus setups. Get help from any of the garage coaches 24/7. Sign up now for awesome, affordable monthly subscriptions, telemetry, coaching, and more by simply clicking on our link in the description below. Also, if you use our special discount code, MajorsGSRC, you'll get 10% off. Now, a talking point that we did mention a little bit earlier is the setup. And Michael, you've been kind of eyeing drivers out there. Is there anybody that you've noticed that looks a little bit different?
I mean, as usual, you've got Yuka running a rocket ship. He's looks like he's got significantly more top speed possibly in hand. Hopefully that translates for him to a race set. But I think one to watch will be Daisy. He's running a little bit higher downforce setup than it looks like the rest of the field, and he's really going to need to be careful on the first lap or two to make sure he breaks away and doesn't get stuck with guys behind him in his draft.
Well, and we'll see if that's the case as we look at our grid. Pauli Partanen on the pole with Jukka Tolvanen next to him. Mikko Laino will start in third, followed by Theo Schleret in fourth. Daisy, who we just heard might be with a lot of wing out there, starts from fifth as Timothy Reed will be P6. And it's Dylan Freckleton popping a P7 in late in qualifying. Peter Konieczny will be eighth. After that, row 5 has Thomas Torp, followed by Gernot Frische in 10th.
Ove Trangrade's going to start off in 11th, followed by Isaac Snyder with Davo Ramos in 13th and Severi Seppa in 14th. Miguel Alcalde will be 15th, followed by Pablo Suarez with Armando Edwards and Barry West behind them. Keith Turner will be into the inside of row 10, followed by Javier Mascara, and David Azevedo will bring up the back of the field.
And everybody managed to get times in here in this qualifying, so this should hopefully all be representative here today. We're waiting on Partanen and Tolan in our front row to find their way out to the grid. Torp and Edwards as well taking their time to put themselves out there. They get about 2 minutes to try and set up, and it's rather early in the morning. As you can see by our temperatures, 9 a.m. virtual standard time. It's only 67 Fahrenheit on the track. That's 19 Celsius in metric terms for today. And just about have everyone at this stage. As you can see, just a few gaps in there now on this starting grid. Standing start as is traditional here in this series, and everybody's now out there. So the engines start to rev, the lights come up. It's round 11 and the green flag is out. Partanen strong off the line. Tolanen horrible as they go 3 wide down into turn 1 and through the middle. Schleret is going to manage to take P2 away from both of his rivals in front of him. Watching to see if we have any offs behind, and we are good.
We are good and clean, but coming up too wide through the S's is going to be very, very difficult for these drivers. Theo Schleret with an excellent start there to get going. And now here comes that big, heavy draft that we talked about, Joe. All the drivers tucking up behind one another. A little bit of a dart to the outside.
Tolanen's going to try and attack on Lino, but Lino is going to chop him off coming through the outer loop. So far, so good through the field. I'm not seeing any incidents, but now it's into the boot section. A little more technical than the first half of the circuit, and still a few side-by-side battles you can see in the mid-pack.
Yes, indeed. We ride on board here. As you can see, third place, Micolino trying to see if he can get anything over the quick starting feel of Schleray. A little bit of a poke to the inside there. Don't think that was a real move. Maybe just a little bit of a head fake for Miko to try to see if he could get a mistake out of Theo.
Isaac Snyder tried to attack Ramos. That one didn't quite work. A little bit farther back down the field as we watch them come out of the boot now, and it is still Partanen leading in his Ligier with Schleray chasing in second place. What a rocket ship of a start for the 19, DJ.
Yeah, absolutely. Got the timing of everything right. Able to split the difference right up the middle. Perfectly executed. And now his job is just going to be trying to close in on Pauly Partanen. Needs to nail the exit here out of the 90. But I've got to say, Micolino looking very, very threatening there in the number 7 behind him.
And we mentioned about Daisy potentially not having a car that's quick in a straight line. Well, unfortunately, he had a horrible start. He is down in 15th position here on lap 2. So that is going to make for a very frustrating day as the French driver still trying to see if he can catch up to Edwards. And as you can see, is nowhere near that number 3, Seppa actually in front of him.
Is there something about the first-time commentator's curse? I feel bad.
It happens to the best of us, don't worry, Michael. As we go side by side, though, down through the chute, and Seppa with Trangrade in a little bit of a fight here, now coming into the toe, and behind them, we've got Suarez and Herner.
Yes, and they're going to be side by side there in the identical Lotus cars there. This is the battle for P19 right now, trying to hold this out. Excuse me, P18 looking in behind there. A little bit of a look for Mosquera. They've got to be careful, otherwise he'll be able to catch up easily.
And remember, they just popped into the top 4 in points, that Lotus team in the CTC. So they have got to try and do better than this, sitting 18th and 19th on track. That's miserable.
It is not good indeed. Everybody going down to single file there for that final corner, trying to maximize the run here. We may see occasionally a good move down into turn 1, but I doubt it. Lino here looking like he's got a good run.
Tolanen!
Tolanen
off in the number 5. Thankfully, he uses that paved runoff to keep from hitting anything, but look at him fall all the way down. It looks like to 17th position as Barry West goes by. Let's take another look at this one here on the replay. And did he just lose it on his own? Yeah.
Yeah, just brought in a little bit too much speed there. I think the tires maybe still coming in a little bit. Remember, these tires are made to last, not necessarily made to get up to temperature very, very quickly.
4th place, side by side. That's Freckleton around the outside of Timothy Reed, but it's going to carry on. Better exit there for Dylan. Is he going to cut in front? Yes, he is. But he goes a little deep himself, leaves the door open. Reed tries to cut back underneath as they come up the hill towards the heel of the boot. It's a good slipstream, but is it a long enough straightaway, DJ?
He's going to try to fight back on him, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to do it. Timothy Reed's going to have to settle in behind, and that's a better run there through the heel for Dylan Freckleton. So he is going to be able to hold on to that position for now.
A little bit of a challenge from Torp from behind, but nothing doing. So this is the battle for 4th again, with Freckleton just outside of the podium. Everybody kind of taking different lines here coming into the final turn. And down the front stretch, Freckleton starting to pull away, and so the battle is becoming more about Torp and Konechny in this group.
Yeah, Torp looking like he's got to try to hold off a little bit, but the same can be said there with Gernot Prix. Oh, that's Torp off wide!
Very wide. He's got to be careful. He could get a slowdown out of that. This is definitely not the place to do it. We'll see if he does it on the backstretch potentially to stay out of the way and keep from causing any incidents. I'm not seeing a slowdown, so it looks like he's good. But what about Freisha and Konechny? Freisha to the inside, Konechny to the inside, 3 wide, but nobody manages to stick it out.
Ooh, that got a little bit hairy there between them. Good heads up for the drivers. I thought Freisha for a second was going to be going well around. He is really getting some good speed there out of the car. Looks like he's trimmed it down. Michael, I think you had some information exactly about how he was running.
Yeah, it looks like Gernot's got the highest top speed of the field right now, sitting in the draft. Unfortunately for him, he's got such a big draft in front of him. He's also bouncing the limiter, so he really needs to get a good run out of 1 there to get past Peter.
Ooh, that's going to make it extremely difficult for him, no doubt. Just a little bit of an error in the setup. Not something we hear about as often here in these Lotus 79s. Look at him just have to fight the wheel a little bit as we ride on board, DJ.
Well, and that is that tricky turn 9, and I can tell you from experience, Joe, I have binned this Lotus 79 coming over turn 9 many a time. You have just got to be so careful on the throttle, feathering it a little bit, very responsive to it. You can't just put the power down. You have got to be listening to the car coming over that corner. Good run there through the 90 for Freesia.
So right now, ahead of them, keeping half an eye on this and half an eye on Miko and Theo, who are in a fight for second place at the front of the field. But will we hear it topping out yet again? Let's listen in here with Freesia as he comes down to the end. Not enough. Yeah, still hear that telltale bouncing of the limiter is up ahead of him. It's starting to get close with Freckleton and Reed once again.
Yeah, Freckleton actually had a little bit of a look going down the straightaway, trying to see if he could get anything, but just not able to get it done. Now he's going to have a little bit of a look going down into the toe, tries to force his nose in. Reed just covers it off enough to be able to save it.
Much better exit as well. So that's going to separate those two. As now it looks like Torp has got to watch out for Konecki. Oh, Konecki breaks early. That sends Freesia off the course. He saves it somehow. Doesn't lose a position, but a cool head in a frightening situation kept the number 1 from wrecking.
Yeah, let's check out the replay on this. This was just a domino stack up here for Freesia. You saw him thinking about trying to maybe go around the outside, as then Konecki coming back to the line. Gernot going off into the grass in the braking zone. Joe, I have no idea how he held onto that car.
I don't either. Echoes of a Fernando Alonso situation. Always you must leave a space. Unfortunately for Freesia, there was none, as behind him, little side-by-side for Ramos and Isaac Snyder. Snyder managing to get past before we even get to the backstretch, and that's Ove Trangrade as well, who unfortunately has his momentum interrupted. And now here comes Seppa as well in the number 3.
Oh, who is going to be the one to poke their nose to the inside? There comes Seppa, and there comes Ramos, thinking about it, almost 3 wide down into the outer loop.
Round the outside, can Trangrade use this banking? It's going to give him the inside into the chute. Oh, but he breaks a little bit early, and Ramos retains P10.
Yeah, but Trangrade just slowly but surely trying to work his way forward. We talked about how Ove likes to trim that car out, so watch for him on the straightaways now, as he really seems to be in the catbird seat, working his way around. We jump on board now with Benoit Daisy.
Remember, we mentioned he had a bad start a little bit earlier up ahead of him. There's another attempt from Seppa down to the inside of Trangrade, and Ove goes very wide off of the heel of the boot. They're going to stay side by side now into turn 9, and he's finally able to move ahead as, we had a change between Torp and Freckleton. Freckleton just got passed by the 4.
Yes, he did. Freckleton looking like he's losing a little bit of time here, as now he is under assault from Konecki as well. Working their way around. Let's watch that replay. Oh, Dylan just running wide at the exit of turn 9, and that's what cost him the momentum.
Wow, I'm amazed that we've had multiple cars now that get off into the grass like this and keep it from wrecking. Usually with the barriers so close here, that's a bit of a death sentence.
Yeah,
especially sorry, DJ, especially at turn 9, where you've got grass on the inside, grass on the outside, and about a foot later you've got the barrier. It's so easy there to either collect the tires on the outside or just overcorrect it when you end up there and just stuff it into the inside barrier.
Around the outside once again for Trangrade. This time, way too wide though, and that's actually going to check up Seppa, who gets overtaken by Daisy, who finally gets himself not just 1, but 2 positions. And that was another one where everybody had to be on their toes, DJ.
Yes, indeed. We are seeing drivers taking some, frankly, unorthodox risks here that we've seen. Look at this as they come down from the blimp perspective. Around the outside, just overshoots the corner there for Ove.
Yeah, he was out in the marbles, I think, and once that happened, he really had to get out of that one. And unfortunately for Seppa, who was in a side-by-side battle, that just compounded his woes for him and had to get off the throttle himself. So, a lot of swapping back and forth there in the mid-pack as we watch from above. Daisy still looking to get another one, this time on Davo Ramos. Oh, and we've had a pass for second. Miko has gotten up to P2 past Theo.
And this was coming. Isaac Snyder is off. We're also hearing as well, ooh, heavy damage into the rear of that number 13 machine.
And a very common incident coming out of turn one. You were talking about this, Michael, that this is kind of an unlikely danger zone, this first corner.
Yeah, you know, everyone's so used to running wide there because of the way Watkins Glen was under the previous scan, and you want to get on that throttle early to get up the back straight, and he just high-centered it there and stuffed it to the inside, unfortunately. It's also the same way that Miko ended up getting past Theo. Theo ended up running wide just a little bit and high centering on the curb and had to back out of the throttle to avoid that exact thing that unfortunately happened to Snyder there, and that's how Miko went by him.
Schleray lives to fight another day, thankfully, as we come back once again to this very close fight. Seppa trying to put one over on the Norwegian, but Trangrade says no. And Benoit Daisy still right behind Ramos in the 18. This is becoming a bit of a train, actually, behind Davo.
Yeah, it is, and I'm going to wonder here if Daisy's going to notice that and really try to move himself forward as much as possible, being very aggressive there, coming out of the penultimate corner, trying to force a little bit of a line, trying to set up a bad run for Ramos here. We ride on board with Benoit Daisy now as they brake heavy into that first turn. Nice clip of the curb there. Is Ramos able to pull away a little bit? No, Daisy's got the run.
Big slipstream here. But remember, he's got to have the run along the end of the backstretch. And look, he's that close in the draft and still dropping away. In fact, here comes Trangrade behind him. We can't see from this on board, but there he goes on the left-hand side, starting to pull ahead. He's tried this outside move multiple times. And let's see if this one's actually going to work. He's holding tough. Is he going to be able to break deep? He's got this path sort of blocked there from Ramos in front of him. Continuing to go wheel to wheel, as that's Freckleton that they just went past in the chute. Freckleton's off as these three continue to fight and going way, way deep into it. Ove Trangrade trying to keep this fight going, but Benoit Daisy slams the door shut now.
And don't look behind, but Severi Seppa having a little bit of a look there as well onto the inside of Ove Trangrade. He's going to try to get that done through the heel of the boot. Trangrade going very, very wide, trying to carry the speed. The battle is going to continue on, and Ove loses one, maybe two positions.
Yeah, that's Tolanen, who's now trying to spin. Big avoidance for Tolanen as he sneaks by, and into the barrier goes Ove Trangrade. Two major players, Freckleton and Trangrade, are taken out in one lap.
Oh my goodness, as we go back to check out the GSRC replay here, we ride on board. Just see Ove lining everything up. Look at how big of a run that was for Ove.
So far back, and I think this is the difference. If you trim the wing out, look at how much he gains compared to Daisy, who's been tucked up behind him the whole time. That 14 just looks like he's standing still right now. But he fights back. He knows he's strong in the corners and starts to come back into it. And Ove cannot come to his to the inside there. And there's the mistake. Freckleton just getting a little snap. And that's another corner there, Michael, that just has no room to the outside.
Yeah, it's really easy to stuff it into the outside barriers there. You really want to carry that speed down the hill, but it's so easy to get sucked in too deep, and suddenly you're in the outside barriers.
And it sounds like that's exactly what Daisy just did himself. He was in a fight with Ramos and just bended it almost this exact same way, sending it into the barriers in the chute. And there's the fight completing here for Trangrade as it starts to go around. And man, great avoidance by Tolan and DJ to not get collected in that.
Very, very much so. And yeah, therefore, Ove just a little bit offline, courtesy of the battle, a little bit too much throttle coming up over the crest of that hill, and just those millimeter microscopic mistakes, enough to send him off into a spin.
I can't remember which livery it was some years ago in F1 that they had it split down the middle, and we're hearing it as the British American racing team And Schleret definitely reminding me of that right now in that number 19, which, by the way, 19 out of 21 in his iRating, and he's about to take a podium. This is going to be a handy haul of iRating.
It certainly will for Schleret. So a new name potentially showing up here in the series. Absolutely loving to see that. And I thought Nico Lino here was going to be able to streak away into the distance. There you can see the view of Nico from the cockpit right now. He certainly is not letting him slip away. So I'm very, very impressed here with this drive from Theo Schleret.
Absolutely.
He came very close during Nürburgring week of competing with Seppa and Timo for the fastest qualifying time. Unfortunately, fell just a little bit short, but was pretty impressed watching those runs that week.
We saw a little bobble coming out of turn 9 from the 19, so that's what's dropped him back now as you see him a little bit smaller in our screen. So this is separating that battle for the podium, but we still have a long ways to go in this race. What if we could jump back to Seppa here, and the number 3, who is chasing Ramos. Man, credit to the 18 here, DJ. I'm not sure what exactly he's doing because I haven't been watching closely, but he's been able to hold back a lot of fast drivers.
Yeah, he really has, and I think it's partially just set up, and it's partially just a good headspace. He knows exactly where to plant his car around this circuit to be able to get it right, although here comes Seppa. He's going to have a look to the inside here, down into the outer loop, and it looked like there that Ramos just kind of saw that one coming. I think he may have let off the throttle a little bit.
Well, that's not the only Finn he's got to worry about. Jukka Tolinen now catches them because of that. So he's kind of sandwiched between them, as we see on board with Tolinen, representing the Finnish-made game, Angry Birds here on his helmet, and trying to square off that exit, each of them looking to get the launch up the hill.
Everybody trying to get it. Ooh, little bit of a look there for Jukka, just trying to see if he could get him offline.
He's not shaking him yet. So Ramos is going to stay put, but now we've seen someone actually manage to successfully overtake him. Little bit of a slide there from the red and white number 5. And he'll have to try and set him up maybe down the front stretch for that good exit. Ooh, taking a lot of that exit curb and off into the grass. Ramos has now been shaken into multiple mistakes. And that's going to lose him 1, maybe 2 spots. Here comes Edwards in the Red Bull livery card.
Yeah, he's going to have his nose down to the inside going into the 90. Ramos going to try to hold on to that momentum. Not going to be able to work, looking for a little bit of a crossover, and maybe here Davo can be able to pick up the draft and be able to keep this battle extending.
He's going to have a nice little slipstream, and it seems like he's hard to pass usually. Oh, but cutting him off. Oh, late move across. I think they almost touched even, DJ.
Yeah, that was a little bit of an over-defensive move, I would have to say there from Edwards, but he is able to keep it ahead. Ooh, way more speed there through the outer loop. Ramos losing a couple of tenths.
Unbelievable stuff here. And this has been getting very, very intense now in this stage of the race. Wonder if drivers starting to feel like they have to defend that little bit harder. Ooh, did we have a problem with Mosquera? The 11, I think, is our latest victim of the shoot, but I think he actually managed to survive this. Let's take a look at this replay. Actually, this is a great avoidance for Keith Herner if we want an impressive onboard here.
All right, so there is Keith in that number 21 machine going down into the chute here. Waiting for it to fire off. There you can see the car starting to slip away, and Keith just reacting very, very quickly, gets his way to the outside and starts to pray at that point and barely able to get on by.
Wow, he's very lucky that that car didn't understeer all the way into the barrier there, so great heads up by Keith to get 15th position out of that incident as we come back live once again, and we see the number 21 there still rolling, and back up to what we've been watching a little bit earlier down the back stretch with the chase between looks like Alcalde, Suarez, West here, and Ramos as well. Edwards trying to pull away, looking like he's getting a little bit of a gap now.
Yeah, starting to pull a little bit of space here for himself, and that's going to be a bit of a relief, especially as this race goes along. We haven't gotten the chance to talk about it yet during this race, Joe, but as these cars continue to run, they get lighter, they get twitchier, they get looser, and so I think if you're able to have that gap, it's going to allow you to focus a little bit more on just keeping the car underneath you rather than having to deal with a battle behind you.
Oh, and another problem for Torp now. Not the first one he's had, and this time it looks like he got some big damage out of it. Let's take a look. This is coming into the heel of the boot. This is going to happen in turn 9. So the next left-hander already extremely wide once again. And then up into this off-camber left-hander. And there she goes.
Yeah, just that crest catching people out yet again. So very tricky. And as I said before, I have done that more times than I can count. Very easy to do.
Yeah, DJ, it looked like he just picked up a little bit of understeer and tried to get on the gas and bring it back down to the apex and just got on it a little too hard and around it went.
So that makes an easy pass for Seppa, up from 14th position in his qualifying. And it looks like we got another overtake. Suarez on Alcalde. So Pablo back up to P12 now, but that looks like that has cost them a little bit of time. They're way behind Ramos up in front. Torp is just limping at this stage. And I don't know about you, Michael, but I think if I was Thomas, I'd try and take it into pit lane and get some repairs because it looks like he's going to do nothing but continue to drop.
Yeah, Joe, you know, it's a tough one in this car. There's a lot of times where you pull into the pits and they give you an optional repair and you feel like they just beat on it with the hammer for a little while and come back out and the car doesn't go any faster. It really is a bit of a chance, a roll of the dice. I think most of the time I end up staying out. Unfortunately, you just hemorrhage time at that point. So it really is a tough one there as we see Ramos get a pretty nice slide on through 10 and 11.
And Torp does decide to carry on, but Ramos still trying to fight off a lot of drivers who seem to have quite a bit of speed comparatively. Started in 13th, he's up to 11th, so he is kind of balancing back out to where he started this race. And now it's Pablo's turn in the number 17. He's got to run, he's got the slipstream. They're coming up the backstretch, DJ. The question is this going to be enough?
I'm not sure if he is going to be quite close enough, but a bad run through the 90 is what really set this all up for Ramos to be able to be under attack, and that is Torp up ahead. That could potentially be a checkup.
I want to give a tip of the hat as, Torp knows with the deal. He's just going to stay out of the way of everybody. Tip of the hat here to Suarez because he is running that Lotus team, and in homage, that is Mario Andretti's traditional helmet design that he's got on there, which Mario ran this Lotus 79 back to take his one and only F1 championship.
Indeed, there you can see it, and yeah, that is Mario. Can be a little bit hard to distinguish there sometimes because both Michael and Marco ran the exact same design, but obviously there with the John Player special on the top of it, that is Mario's helmet without question.
Yeah, the Hills, the Villeneuves. I love when families kind of carry on tradition like that with helmet designs. I don't know. To me, it's just, it's a good feeling. But as we come on to the front stretch once again, we are down to, it looks like 12 laps to go for our drivers. Oh, and Torp is now thrown in the towel. He is indeed on pit lane.
Yeah, just that car, I think he recognized not able to really handle itself. We'll have to see if he tries to get some damage repair. He has retired, we are hearing, so that is day done.
So Pablo Suarez now in the midst of this, trying to catch up to Ramos. Not quite close enough. Edwards still ahead of them. He's pulled a gap of about 6/10, but hasn't been able to get any farther away than that, it seems, by this point in the race. And down into the chutes. Suarez not able to gain up much through that corner. He's got to watch out. He's overtaken Alcalde, but Alcalde could definitely try and attack if he goes side by side through a few corners with Davo.
Exactly. This battle is far from over, and we've seen how easy it is to make just a little bit of a blip or bobble around here, so these drivers have got to maintain to be on it. And Davo Looking like it is. Oh, but there was a little bit of a bobble there coming through the heel for Suarez. That's going to put him in position to be attacked potentially by Alcalde.
Just shows you how much they are pushing. But as the cars get lighter, they're going to get faster. And there was the fastest lap for Lino. So we look at the comparison between himself and Partanen. And it does look like Nico is gaining here and there. It's a bit of a back and forth. But with now 11 laps to go, Dijo, if Miko wants to try and take the win away from Partanen, he's going to actually have to make significant chunks.
Yeah, he's really going to have to push, and it doesn't look like at this point. Ooh, as we got to jump back, because here is Severi Seppa on the attack on the back of Peter Kozneski.
Seppa just kind of hounding him at this point. Again, I'm really wowed by the inroads that the three has been making. Not sure what happened with his qualifying, but 14th seems a little low. And he's up to 7th. But now Peter, who he is trying to demote another position, is racing alongside with Frisha in the Copa machine, the Fittipaldi, and into the heel of the Boots. Both taking a decent line through there. Nobody really finding much of an advantage. What about through the tricky turn 9? Oh, a little bit off the apex there for Peter.
He's going to be under a little bit of an attack here. Not really a move to be able to be made down to the penultimate corner. You can see there on your screen, Pauly Parkson responding to the attack from Mika Lino with the fastest lap of the race as Seppa brings that car out onto the main straightaway. The gap staying about the same.
They come down into the 90. And Konechny is still ahead, but he's going to give the slipstream to Seppa. Is this going to be a slam dunk? That's the question.
Well, let's see. Seppa very, very quick in the straight line here. He's going to be able to catch up behind, trying to see if he can do it, poking his nose this way, and that no defense there from Peter. And here comes the drag race.
To the inside, down into the outer loop. Around the outside, sometimes you can defend there, and that's what Peter believes he can do. Oh, but he's way to the outside, flirting with the edge of the track. Still has the defensive line down into the chute. Seppa's not going to have it here, but he could get the undercut and go back underneath him. No, it is not quite there.
Not quite there yet. Very late onto the brakes there for Seppa, though, diving down into the toe. That's going to help him a little bit. He's able to carry some good momentum. That gap coming down to about under a 10th here as they go down into the heel.
Oh, he takes a big look at it. He wanted it badly, but Peter denied him. He left a little bit of space, though. He didn't want to completely chop him off, and he's a little bit scared. He's off the racing line now as he breaks too deep into turn 9. Severi Seppa has got him making mistakes.
Yes, he does. Trying to see what he can do here. This is all of that mental game that we've talked about, Joe, but a great run for Peter there out of those final 2 corners is going to give him a little bit of breathing room.
Fantastic recovery in the final corner. Just pulled away by a number of car lengths there. But I wonder, is it far enough? Because Severi's now going to get the slipstream again. Maybe this was an intentional ploy by Severi to back it up and give himself a better run. Let's see. Let's see if it is. It's half brilliant, maybe a little risky.
He's going to have to be really careful, though. That little bit of checkup has brought Yuka right back into play, and Yuka's only sitting back 2-3 tenths now. He's right on the back of him.
Ooh, that's a good point. Yeah, the 5 has himself in play now. This is all for 6th position amongst our drivers. Many of them vying for the team's championship here. Seppa racing for Walter Wolf. So he's going to want to get a few more here from 8th spot. And you can see some of the other ones where they sit in the team's championship. Konechny, Konechny racing for the Renault Elf team, not the Fittipaldi team. So I called that wrong earlier. As we take a little bit of a peek to the inside with Suarez, thinking about trying to overtake Ramos, but nothing doing there. And this has closed back in a big way, because they were much more separated before, and another wide run from Edwards.
Yeah, he's just opening himself up to opportunities here, Joe, from behind for Ramos. Remember, Ramos is sort of yo-yoed up and down the order here, but now as they come through that final corner, it looks like Suarez may be the one on the attack on Double Ramos.
Ramos trying to keep ahead, and he's been doing a great job defending up to this point. He's only let Edwards sneak by. Everybody behind him, in the meantime, have been somewhat stuck. Alcalde watching to see how this unfolds as Suarez gets another good run. The John Player Special Lotus is picking up steam. It's 182 miles an hour as they get close to top end, and he runs out of straightaway, but he's going to send it and then gets chopped off, DJ.
Yeah, that's a big check up there for him. He's going to be a little bit frustrated, I think, will be Suarez. And he's got to be careful. Alcalde is Ramos' teammate there behind him. So there could be a little bit of team communication going on there, seeing if they can maybe put Suarez into a position to compromise a corner and allow for Alcalde to be able to get on by.
Also, before we get too late in this race, I do want to give mention and update on the championship standings and where that fight sits for second place. Well, obviously, we know where Michael DeTurk is because he's sitting right next to us. Kayla's not here. And then Partanen, who's fourth in the points, is looking like he might win this race there in that number 2 machine. There you see right there. And Freesia is currently only 5th place. So this is looking very much in favor of Partanen coming out into second in points after today.
Yeah, it just goes to show you what a good late season run can really do for you, as there you see your top 3 working their way on the straight. There is Gernot Freesia there in that number 1 machine trying to close in on the back of Timothy Reed. That gap just under 2 seconds.
Seppa with another run, but not enough of one. Yeah, Freesia right now is about 12 seconds behind Partanen at this stage. So it takes something massive. Essentially, I think Partanen's got to have a big slip up or wreck out if Freesia hopes to outscore him here. And coming down with Konechny just ahead of Separi. I am just a mess with names today, as Separi follows him up the hill. He's been close, he's been threatening, but he can't quite make it happen.
No, it just doesn't look like he's close enough to really get that move done. I wonder if he's maybe running just a hair too much downforce here to really be able to maximize the draft.
He's been there. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Joe. It's always one of those tough things with Gernot. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes, if any mistakes, and he always has a ton of top speed. It's just he places the car so well, and he maximizes that low wing. I can tell you from so many races of experience that either having him just in front of you and feeling like you have that corner speed on him, or having him be 5/10 behind you and knowing there's a long straight coming up is really just frustrating.
Oh, this one's looking good, though, as he starts to pick it up once again. This is a massive run. He might actually be able to get that overlap, but still, Peter does not pull down to the inside to cover him. He likes that corner speed, and that is incredible. Side by side on the straight, and still Peter from around the outside retains P6.
That is just confidence in your car, knowing you can really chuck it in there. Oh, but it maybe not done yet, going down into the toe. A little bit of a look there, but not enough for Seberi to be able to get it on by.
And the second you two started talking, I realized I looked at the wrong yellow car and said Gernot when we were talking about Peter.
Oh, but it's still valid, I think. Is down to the inside, and this is what I was thinking was going to happen. A sneak attack from Seppa. He saw a tiny bobble and a corner that has been a lot less common for the overtakes. Oh, but now he makes a mistake, and here comes Peter back at him. And Tolanen, don't count out that number 5 as they go single file through the penultimate turn. What a wild couple of corners there, Michael.
Yeah, very intense. I really thought Severi was going to end up with 2 wheels in the dirt there. They did a great job of keeping it together and making it look good.
It's not over yet, though, DJ. Here we go again. And fast in the straight line. Konechny's been hot. Is he able to fight back here? And especially going into that outer loop, that's been his strong point.
It has indeed, but he is going to have to worry about Jukka Tolanen behind. He has got to be worried about trying to chuck that car up to the inside. Whoa, big aggressive move, and here we go with the 3 wide.
Are they going to stay 3 wide into the corner? That's the question. No, but fighting around the outside. Oh my goodness! Konechny has to gather it up down on the inside. Doesn't like that pinched line. Seems like he likes running the Harry Gant line there. High, wide, and handsome. And Seppa back into P6.
All right, so a little bit of a fight back, a little bit of a take back. The battle still electric here with about 4.5 laps to go here at Watkins Glen. Look out, Tolinen looking very, very aggressive here. He's going to poke his nose to the inside of the heel.
This is where he lost the position last time, and this time he shuts the door. Peter is in no mood to lose yet another one, DJ.
No, he is not. That's a very defensive move. But that cost him time. Look at that gap starting to expand a little bit. It's up to 0.7 of a second.
I'm starting to think that maybe Seppa faster in that clean air through the corners now. Oh, and there's another slip up. Are these tires starting to get a little overheated for Peter Konechny? We've now seen multiple cases this one lap that the car has gotten sideways.
Yes, it has, and I think the driver who knows that the best right now is Jukka Tolinen. Look how close he is behind that yellow number 16. Really starting to get a good run here. I think he may have timed this absolutely to perfection as they come up over the S's.
Oh, but he pinches him off. Just covers him off in time, and Tolinen tries to weave back to the inside. If they had headlights on these cars, he'd be flashing them right now.
Yeah, that was a little bit of an over-aggressive defense, it has to be said, but there they go, able to keep on going around. Peter able to hold off. Jukka's off!
Tolinen into the wall hard. Big damage on the left-hand side of the machine. He's going to get it going. The question is, how quick is it going to be from here? I almost wonder if all that fighting put his blood pressure a little over the edge and just made an unforced error into that turn.
I think that may have been what it is. Just drove it in too deep, Joe. The car just absolutely giving out on him there as he tried to carry maximum speed into the chute.
And he's parked it. He has parked it. I think the car too damaged to continue. There was no further incident. He just came to a halt out of the hill. What an unfortunate end for what was a titanic battle out there as we come now to the other one we've been watching all race long, led by Edwards. And this quartet, will they sing well in a barbershop quartet, or is this going to be a rock and roll sort of race between these four in these final 2 or 3 laps?
Well, they've started to separate out a little bit more, but we've seen just how much the draft can really close in. Very wide one there for the 18 of Davo Ramos. And that is not going to help his chances to be able to close in on the back of Edwards.
Yeah, way too far away. They are gapped out. So I don't think we're going to see anything amongst the four this time by. Is this the calm before the storm? You're not missing anything up at the front. We showed them a little earlier, but Partanen still leads Lino by 2.5 seconds. So that one is not a challenge, and Schleret is the last one still on the podium after that initial monster start. Just couldn't keep up and has to settle for P3. But down and out of the chute here as we come into the boot. And these four drivers can't seem to get within attacking range of one another. And looks like, looking at our hard chargers right now, I actually think Edwards might have the hard charger here, as he's got 9 up, I'm seeing.
That is what I'm seeing as well. The only other driver coming close to that looks like it's Severi Seppa, who is up 8 on the day. So a lot of hard chargers here. Edwards running a good line there out of 9. And I want to give credit there to Ramos. Remember that big bobble we saw him have? I was saying that may have cost him. He's been able to keep that gap back down to about 6-7 tenths of a second.
Yeah, I've been watching this quartet. They've been running very consistently. I don't want to risk doing a second commentator's curse here, but we've talked about the curbing in turn 1 a little bit. Turn 10 can do the same thing if you drive straight down the middle of it, and these guys have been running it pretty ragged there on the exit, so that might unfortunately be something we have to watch for.
Well, that's that second to last corner, the fast left-hander that we've seen at least one driver go quite wide and then mess up the following corner. As I believe that was, I think it was Freckleton that we saw do that. I'm trying to remember which driver it was. So much has happened in this race. And Edwards keeping it steady here down into the chute once again. We're about to get the white flag pretty soon. Partanen is just coming through that penultimate corner himself. And Barney getting ready to wave that 1 to go signal to our leader. We still have about 16 of our 21 starters left on the track right now. So it has gobbled up a few of them, DJ. It's not been huge attrition, but enough that it seems that Watkins Glen still bites.
Yeah, it very, very much does. And I actually want to give credit to one of the drivers who has bitten pretty hard here, and that's Dylan Freckleton. Dylan came in, took a pit stop, got some repairs done on the car, and came back out and running, and that's a call around. I believe that's Suarez.
It is indeed. Well, Michael, are you superstitious?
If I wasn't, I am now.
That was in turn 11 that we just heard about. Watch this. Let's see. Was he already loose? He was already loose, but the curb definitely kind of put the nail in the coffin. And a big slam. Whoa, that was close with the 10. Alcalde just managing to get by in time.
Barely able to hold on to that. He is a very, very lucky boy. We've got a side-by-side, though, here that falls off a little bit as Ramos trying to get that last lap maneuver on Armando Edwards.
He wants it back. He absolutely wants it back. Oh, Edwards off into the barrier. Thankfully for Ramos, he manages to avoid it, but it checks him up. But we got to go to Partonen. The checkered flag being held out by Barney as he gives the win to the number 2 today here at Watkins Glen.
A great drive from him and a great drive from Mikko Lino. Theo Slare here, one of the stories of the race with that electric start, able to come back up and take the final podium position.
Frisha settling for P5. I'll have to check my points to see how much of a swing that is going to be between himself and Partonen, as well as with the Turk in the race. But Ramos going to come through, promoted now up to 8th position. Alcalde, his teammate, not able to run him down in time as they cross the line. Let's take another look at that incident here, as that was some scary stuff, DJ.
It was indeed.
Oh, some help, though. Oh, Edwards going to be unhappy about that one, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's not going to be something that Armando is going to take lightly, I have to think.
Well, that is going to wrap us up, but not for the show itself. We've still got the official results as well as driver interviews to come. Stick around because we'll be back after this. Welcome back to Watkins Glen. Victory for Pauli Partonen today from the pole. So there's 2 bonus points for him. I'll have to check to see if he got the fastest lap here in a moment, as Mikko Lino was about 2.5 seconds behind him. Kept him honest, but really wasn't threatening for much of the race. Theo Slare, who was up into second by the first lap. Not sure if he held it at the end of the first lap, but definitely fell back to third later on as he started from 4th, had a monster run at the very beginning. Timothy Reed couldn't keep up as well. He finished in P4. Gernot Friesche from 10th to 5th. That's kind of his MO. I know we kind of harp on him not being the greatest qualifier, but he still is a good racer and has at least managed a 5th place as Severi Seppa went up from 14th to 6th today. After that, you've got Peter Konechny in P7 and Davo Ramos in P8. Miguel Alcalde, his teammate, just behind him in 9th, and Barry West. Great gain from 18th to 10th.
In 11th, it was Pablo Suarez, followed by Armando Edwards, who had that issue at the end of the race, losing it down into the chute. Keith Herner was behind him with David Azevedo. Javier Mosquera, the first car lap, down in 15th, followed by Dylan Freckleton with Jukka Tolinen, finishing 3 laps down. A DNF here today, along with Thomas Torp, Benoit Daisy, Ove Trangarade, and Isaac Snyder.
And I can report that it was a perfect score for Parton, and he did get the fastest lap. So, again, I'll try and get some math in at some point here during the post-race to figure out where we sit. But Pauli, as I was just mentioning, a perfect race, fastest lap, pole, and the win. But I will say Mikko was sticking with you. Was that you managing the gap, or was he really hustling you the whole way?
Well, first of all, this was first time for a pole win and fastest lap, so I'm very, very happy about that. And Mika had great pace whole race. He was definitely very fast, but I was taking care that I won't make mistakes, so I was not really pushing until the last lap. I wanted the fastest lap, so that was kind of my one lap that I wanted to be fast, and other laps I just tried to be safe and not make mistakes.
I'd say it worked out pretty well for you on that end. This, of course, helps you in the fight with your fellow rivals in second place, Friesche, Kayla, DeTurk. And I believe this is going to put you into second after today. Can you hold on to that in the final round?
We will see. Next race it's very complicated. 3 circuits are, and they're not for me, really. I'm very bad there, so we will see. But I try my best in next week.
Well, we'll hope for the best out there. Is there anybody you want to thank? And I'm getting a note from Michael saying that you need to thank your pedals this week.
Actually, I need to thank my pedals every week. They are fantastic. But thanks for Jukka as always. He's very big help for me. And thanks for the Turk also, because he's guided me through this week and give me tips on how to drive this track. So it was very helpful for him, and yeah, that's all.
That was Pauli Partsinen, your victor here today in the penultimate round of the season, as DJ has caught up with third place Theo Schleret.
Well, Theo, it started with a great jump off of the line that really puts you in contention, and then a very long battle with Mikko Lino. But just talk me through your emotions coming off of that and getting onto the podium here.
Well, actually, pretty satisfied, yeah, because at first I aimed for a top 5, and then when I saw my start, I thought that, I have something to play. But my main objective was just to bring the car, and I knew that when the guy in P2, I don't remember his name, sorry, I thought that when he would try to pass me, I would let him go, because I didn't want Timothy to catch us.
Gotcha. So as the race went along, then how much of that managing were you really keeping an eye on, and how much were you sort of just keeping an eye on bringing the car home? I mean, obviously a little bit of a pressure there with Timothy catching a little bit, but it looks like you managed the gap well.
Yeah, I managed the gap. I tried to stay with the leading group as long as possible to help myself, and I was just battling with myself to keep focus and not do any mistake that would make me lose everything.
Well, I'd certainly say you did a pretty good job of it, and we were speculating a little bit before, but talk to me about your livery, a little bit of a split design on it. Any inspiration or fun from it?
Actually, that's the livery I did because I'm from the Apex Tech Racing team, and I do the livery for them. And if you watch a bit the major series, we run another livery. But because at the beginning, when my team principal asked me to do a new livery, I came up with 2 designs, and he chose the other design, and this one was the other one. So I wanted to race it on my favorite car on iRacing.
Well, I love the story behind it, and I have to agree with you. It's my favorite car in iRacing as well. But anybody you want to thank for a fantastic run here to 3rd place?
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, thank you. That was Theo Schleray, your 3rd place finisher here today. Joe?
We've got one more to talk to. A top 10 for Barry West out there, up 8 positions from the start. We didn't get to cover you a whole lot. Barry, did you have much fun out there?
No, Joe, really not. It was quite a lonely race. Once I'd lost a toe from the 3 in front that were fighting, they just managed to keep that gap, I think 4 or 5 seconds all the way through the race after the first exciting few laps. But yeah, I lifted for somebody to span and lifted a little bit too much, I think, and I lost that gap. But yeah, I mean, I always like this track. I mean, I usually, quite consistent here, but yeah, it was a good race, enjoyable. I didn't expect to be gifted 2 more positions on the last lap. I mean, that was really bad luck for Pablo and Armando. But yeah, I was watching them all through the race, and I thought I'm not going to catch them. But yeah, it was. I'm glad for P10 anyway.
Still a pretty good result in top split. Talk about what your theory was on your setup, because we did see a little bit of split approaches from drivers, because some certainly seemed to have some wing cranked in, and others just were a rocket ship in a straight line.
Yeah, I think it's all about how you get turn 1 right. If you get good launch off of turn 1, but I don't know. I was using the setup that Theo mentioned right early in the week, and stuck with it, and I was getting 178 mile an hour on straight, 180 with a toe, 182 perhaps, but I didn't get the toe, so it was really set up for close following somebody, but it didn't seem to work out. I know a lot of more people put more wing on, so they were quicker in the corners, but then for the race, I think Duca said he put more wing on for qualifying, so you can get a faster time with more downforce. But of course, it's always a compromise, this track, so it's yeah, it always gives interest in racing.
It is one of the things I do like about it when we get these high downforce cars is how do you run the thing? Well, congratulations on a top 10. Anybody you want to thank before you take off?
I'd like to thank Theo, the newcomer. He's a pretty quick boy by the looks of it, and grats to Paulie for the win. Yeah, thanks.
That was Barry West, P10, and that is going to close out our interviews. So before we go, another mention of our channel sponsor, the Majors Garage. Make sure and click the link in the description below and use our promo code MajorsGSRC. It'll get you 10% off your order. Also, thank you to the Lotus 79 community for bringing us back for another season of coverage, and also to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out our Bandcamp for more great work. And thanks to the team today, DJ, Zach, and Dougie, as well as Michael down on pit lane. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. Also, check out our merchandise store. It's gsrc.storeenvy.com, and there's a link in the description below to make it nice and easy. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. And the next race, as was mentioned, the final round will take place as a street fight on Long Beach, Sunday, March 6th at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But up next, the PRL NASCAR Cup Series goes to Auto Club for their finale later tonight at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.